How's it going, guys?
How's it going? You guys are all super into conspiracy theories, right?
Yep, we're on.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I'm going to drop out because I've got work in a few hours, but I'm here to help.
Oh, wait,
I'm going to listen.
Great seeing ya.
You're going to talk me to sleep, so don't
Yeah,
worry about
okay,
that.
cool.
See you in a bit.
How we
Right.
doing, guys?
Do you mind if I run this idea by you?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, so I'm a journalist, half journalist, studying to be a journalist. Also been working on AI for quite a big time.
Ooh.
I'm starting this website called Conspiraclear.
Okay.
And what it is basically this huge research hub. I've got an index of all conspiracy theories, then a giant discourse community. Not Discord, like it's a chat room underneath it. Then we've got all these investigations to get top academic journalists in. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of connection and a lot of money, but you crowdfund it on Kickstarter or something like that, and you actually get the connections in.
Yep.
It is plausible. You'd have to. Problem is when someone believes a conspiracy theory, often it already aligns with their pre-existing beliefs. So then, when we actually find something that's true, it becomes such a struggle to actually prove it. Like this UFO disclosure team has such a struggle to actually break through all the noise. So you have to eliminate the untrue conspiracies as well as prove the actual conspiracies as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work because otherwise no one's going to believe you. So you've got to operate fact-checking and investigations at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of idea. You can sort of we can try and sort of bring a sort of just some sort of organization so we can actually get research through.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to message. I've been building it, and if anyone has any insight to put in on their theories, that would be absolutely amazing. If anyone has any insight to put in on their theories, that would be absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to put your message in, or you want to message me, and then that way I can share it later on in the link?
Yeah, cool. I will do.
You a follow as well, Charlie.
Yeah, just whack me a follow, and I'll send you some details and shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, because basically what I've been thinking is we're just never going to get anything done if we just, because what everyone's doing is they're seeing these posts and pulling these little things, and then it's all just creating their own little narrative, and we can't actually prosecute or get anything from that.
Yeah, that's very. We definitely need to come together, I think, and work as a team in order to get this stuff out for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we'll see we got Trump's with Epstein today, and it seems he didn't put the full information out. And a website like this would be super useful for a situation like that, where you've actually got someone delivering packets of conspiracy information to influencers they believe are going to cover it favorably.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's chill. I think you gotta give it unbiased no matter what. Like whatever Trump says about this whole misinformation racket, whole deep state thing. Fundamentally, he is also still a high value worth individual in the same networks.
Agreed.
So
Yeah, we'll see what comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I'm not too sure if you're aware, but this weekend there's gonna be a big I guess it's gonna be a conversation with Jason Sands. It's gonna be held on Shiv's. I'm not too sure if you know who he is.
It's UFO _MUFC.
okay.
Dilibot. Like Matt was saying, we're all going to be there. He's literally going to be live with us on Shiv's channel. Shiv messaged him on X. It's his official TikTok account. He's now got his photo up. We're all literally posting videos every day to make sure we get as many people on this live as possible, because this is one of the guys that literally confirmed 4 different species of extraterrestrial.
Right.
If you see my videos, I am very excited about the fact that he confirmed reptilians. I've got my own theories on reptilians. I am massively excited about this. It's going to be absolutely massive. An actual whistleblower coming live on TikTok with us. This subject in the UK does not exist. You know?
No, yeah. There needs to be we haven't got anything
No,
like they have in America with the disclosure team.
yeah, the biggest story in humanity, Jake Barber with his UFO wreckage footage.
Yep.
The only paper that was covered in the UK was the Metro, and that's a free paper you pick up on a bus. Only people at 85 years old pick that paper up. You know, it just does not exist, and that's, you know, I created my channel off the back of UFOs around the world because I was seeing what he was doing, and then my partner, she was saying, well, you know, he's not covering what you know, and you were like, yeah, right, and so, and this is what I mean. It's like you say, it's getting a community together. We've all got our own theories and things like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's getting the community together and making sure we all get to that final truth. And
yeah, it's about laying out everything that we know on the table so we can actually see it.
Agreed.
Because I'm really thinking too that this might be bigger than humans understand. I actually believe that interdimensional beings are the most likely, beings that can surpass space, time, and anything humans can even comprehend. And that's something I've talked about for a while too on my own, and people have called me crazy or said I was Delulu. But at the same time, it's the most logical probability. Interdimensional beings or beings from outer space is very possible, but you know, I really think the interdimensional aspects are more possible.
well, that's
Like separate consciousness that is able to infiltrate our reality. And it looks like those orbs, I believe. I think it's a possibility those orbs are just another being's consciousness observing us. That's why they can communicate with us telepathically.
That's a great, that's very good. Not Jake. Who else said that too? David Grush actually had mentioned that he believes that they were interdimensional, and those are the words he used. And
I had no idea.
Right, guys,
I
gotta
guess we're
drop
all on the
off.
same wavelength.
Thanks for indulging me.
Did anybody see?
It was great seeing you.
Good seeing you. I'll be in contact.
Sounds
Say
good.
again, Forhat. Say again.
Yeah, I'll be in contact. See you soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Take it easy, Charlie.
See you.
Did anybody see Ross Coulthart's reality check about Australia's version of Skinwalker Ranch?
No, I didn't get to see that.
Have it.
So, what you've just been saying about interdimensional, right? There is a doctor, I can't remember his name. I'm really useless with names. I apologise. But there's an Australian scientist that's wrote a research paper, and we all know what happens. You write a research paper, you put your findings down, you have to send it off to a senior researcher. They confirm your findings, and guess what? You've just probably come up with one of the biggest breakthroughs in history. And this guy has a research paper that he sent off to be examined, however they do it, which is confirming interdimensional beings. It's confirming how some of these orbs and some of these manifestations that you see are part in our dimension, part in their dimension. Do you know what I mean? So that was massive. You go and watch that one, because
I completely agree, because that's what my
there's more
grandparents...
there's more in that. Do you know what I mean? Than just that. This Ross Coulthart is around.
You guys know about like vibration of that? Is that something that continues to get connected? Is the vibration of those multidimensional? That's what I keep running across. It's something to do with vibration, and then the visibility of them. As the humans have a very tight visible spectrum, we can see everything from red to blue, but then anything beyond that, we're starting to get lost. We know things that like, radiation and that kind of stuff exists, like sound waves from radios and that kind of thing, but we can't see them. And I have a slight feeling that something to do with vibration and seeing beyond what the human eye can see might have a big play.
They can interfere with our reality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's been said a few times that anything that, just because it's on a higher or different wavelength, that's possible why we're not able to see, certain beings or whatever. It just has to do with your frequency, with the different levels that, we're capable of. I mean,
yeah. And then now go back to question wouldn't it make you want to question your reality? What of that then, or like if they can interfere with our reality, what is our true reality? Does that make sense?
I mean, think about it kind of like with the gateway. You know, you have a hallway full of doors, and each door is a different reality. You know, I genuinely believe that's kind of what we're dealing with. You know,
Yeah.
our government started with, you know, well, everyone knows about the Stargate project, but a lot of people don't know about Project Starflame. That's still classified, but that goes into like telepathic hypnosis and ways to weaponize these
Well, does
energy
anybody know
exchanges.
what they're doing in Alaska? And they're building super soldiers.
Yeah, my grandfather was a part of a
Right.
psychic super soldier program here at Fort Bragg in the 80s, Operation Jedi Warrior.
The one,
And they've carried some of that technology over. I just
the
want to
one,
let you guys know that they've
sorry,
carried some of that technology over into the public. And they
the
did
one
science
that,
to the public. So if they're doing that,
sorry,
that makes you question your own reality.
Yes,
and
they
that's the thing.
I do
One,
anyway. I don't know.
the one project that I have been interested in is the GATE program. Like when kids were in elementary school and they got pulled out of class
I have
and put
documents on that.
into, yes,
My own personal
and they got
documents.
put, and they got put into like this windowless room and made to do the little shape things and like the hearing test and
Mine was at
all of
Wright
these
Patterson Air Force
crazy.
Base.
When you go back to the Montage
Yep.
project, there's so many different projects. Like,
And I also love the one where it's like the CIA declassified a gateway process, the one by Monroe Institute from Robert Monroe.
That also ties into the Stargate project.
Yes, it's
I
all
think there's
connected.
one in
And
And
they
Mike,
wanted to find
Yeah.
people who could do like psychic abilities
he's
and
still
stuff. And I'm
alive.
pretty sure they would.
My
I'm pretty
grandmother was.
sure they would want people. I'm pretty sure they would want people who did that project to work for them. And I
They
think
try
that's
to.
why they do stuff like that.
They recruit their family members. So, like, both of my grandparents were a part of the Stargate project, separate projects inside of it. You know, Stargate is like an umbrella term, kind of like Crest and others. So my grandmother was a psychic remote viewer. Her name is Ann Jutman. Some of her NDAs are declassified. She's still alive. She's a contractor now. But she worked originally for INSICOM, then she worked for the CIA and the DIA simultaneously. My grandfather, Sanders Maggard, who's second generation Special Forces, before he worked for the Pentagon, he was a part of Operation Jedi Warrior, also known as the 1st Earth Battalion here at Fort Bragg in the 80s. They made a movie about it called The Men That Stare at Goats, but they don't tell you everything that took place during that project. A friend of mine on here, Hazardous Lazarus, submitted some FOIA requests on my behalf, and we got approved for over 2,000 documents just on my father, my grandfather, and my grandmother. So I'm really excited to go through that because my dad was 3rd generation Special Forces, and he was exposing, you know, because I was kidnapped as a baby. My dad was handed a baby the day he became a Green Beret. So it's multi-generational the way this stuff goes. Like most of my,
Yes,
it's
and
really
it's
crazy.
usually it's also usually people who have military family.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was in the Vietnam War, and then me and my like the younger generations after that, I believe, were MK Ultra.
Yep.
Because we were the ones that were chosen
Monarch.
for certain programs.
I think whenever you sign, military-wise, I think when you sign that, you're also signing your genetics, in a sense, away to it. Because I've had so many people in my family that are in the military, and you find it's like the hitchhiker effect in a way that finds its way to you, but then I don't know, maybe you find yourself. There's a lot of psyops.
Can I ask you something real quick? How the whole thing with the Stephen Greer? What's your take on that?
On Stephen Greer as a whole, or on what?
With you know, him saying that he was going to come out with different whistleblowers, and then calling Lou, you know, saying that he's a professional misinformation agent.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on Stephen at some points because I feel like Stephen, I feel like Stephen has a very good position and wants to make everybody feel comfortable and safe with these things. And then at the same time, he's getting completely battled out with Lou Elizondo and his team of people, and who are completely opposite. And I find that a very interesting mix. I don't know if Stephen just doesn't fully understand the situation that maybe our military does with, like, you know, maybe Lou has insider information as to what we've done to these people or these creatures or these things. Like, maybe we've taken them and dissected them, and maybe these other things do not appreciate that. And Stephen kind of like off topic of that, and his experiences that he's had have always been pleasant. He brings up a really good point, though, is one of the things that he stated was in the early 60s, if they were hostile, we would have been dead by now, essentially, is what he said multiple times. And when he says that, he brings up the topic of nuclear warfare. When we first popped off the first nuke and then destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we took a lot of lives, and I have a feeling that these things aren't here to protect us per se, but they want us here or they need us here for something.
Yeah, probably our consciousness. That's what I think. I'm
kind of mixed on the Stephen Greer stuff too. I don't really know what to think about him, so I don't know.
I'm more susceptible. I have more nicer things to say about him than I do Lou Elizondo. I've talked to both of them on Twitter. When I first went on that app, I was attacked heavy by the Lou crew because there's certain accounts that you're allowed to hang out with on that app and certain accounts you're not. And if you don't just fall in line, it turns into a shit show really fast. It doesn't matter.
Did they charge you to talk to you on Twitter? That's what pisses me off about the pair of them. Sorry for swearing. But they're just all money, fame, and it does my absolute head in.
And now they're nice, but they're only because they found out everything that I've been saying for the past 5 years is true, and now they're all talking about it. And I have all the documents going back from MySpace days. They just weren't susceptible to interdimensional beings or any of that kind of esoteric talk.
So they're just literally taking your ideas and running with it?
Yeah, and I'm trying to expose human movement, that they take these babies, illegally adopt them into military families, and utilizing TRICARE tests and orchard them like guinea pigs. That's my whole life. Like, it's pretty complicated, and I just wanted them to look into Fort Bragg, North Carolina, specifically 3rd Special Forces Group for human and illegal substance movement, and then Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for testing on children for PSI research. And this is before I even knew that my grandparents were involved in these projects. Like, I worked with George Knapp, George Webb. I've talked to Matt Wallace and Ryan Mata, but none of them want to touch my grandfather. So I'm like, look, can you skip that chapter? Or can you introduce me to somebody that's not scared? Like, I use my real name and my real face regardless, and I still live at this military base. I'm not going anywhere. But the thing is my sealed adoption file is missing. My Green Beret father was unalived on Father's Day. My mother was unalived on my birthday. How much stuff has to happen before people want to look into this stuff? You know, I could be wrong. I don't know. I was a child that's experienced these things, but there's so many of us out here.
I want to ask you guys.
Realize too, though, whenever they break you through trauma, and that's how they get into your psyche, is by
they create altars.
Trauma. So you have to remember that. And what I always say is, don't think of it as a break. Think of it as you're growing back stronger, like a tree. When a tree breaks off of its limb, it grows stronger.
All right, so I got a couple questions for you guys. I'm curious to see how all of us will react and see how we kind of came about to the UFO phenomenon themselves. So I want to start with Yeti Chips or Yeti
Hi.
Chips. Hi.
What's up?
Hey.
So
I have a question for you. Essentially, let's start off with what brought you into the UFO topic in the first place. I'm just curious. I want to see if any of us have this connection between it.
Oh, always been interested in it as a kid, but I've been seeing orbs in the sky, so that has made me want to explore this a lot more closely. And I've been seeing them for about a year, and I might have seen them a total of 10 times over that year.
Recently?
Yeah, recently. The last one was this month, last time. Okay. Last time, usually I'll see, like, I just go at night, I go out and just calmly have a calm mind, look at the universe, feel small, feel like the universe is wonderful, cast my location out to the universe, ask for something, and I'll do that every night essentially. And once a month I'll get something. The last time it was an orb flying across in front of me, and I'm always like, is that just a satellite? So I just calmly watch it, and then I got a couple of little blinkers from it, little flashes, and I was like, okay, I haven't seen you guys for a while. If this is really an orb, can you show me another one? And then about a minute later, one appeared behind me. I was just like scanning the sky. I'd asked the question, and it from a different part of the sky started flying towards me. And this is way up in the sky, but it came right up above my house and disappeared. Yeah,
Very interesting.
cool.
Okay.
It's really cool.
You're
And
kind of seeing something.
I'm also getting synchronicities a lot. I've gone through a lot in the last couple of years, but I've come out the other side, and right now I feel like when you kind of like get into the pocket and you're doing something in your life which you get synchronicities, you get number synchronicities, you get kind of coincidences happening, and it just subtly tells you you're doing something right. Weirdly, I feel like that's happening with me right now, it's if I have an ego about it. If I start going, yeah, I'm the guy that sees orbs, and I go out there and I'm like, where are the orbs? I never see them. And it's often when I've kind of got some question in my mind about something, and I don't know what the answer is, and I'm pondering it. Then I see them and I get a message, and it's just the message is in my internal monologue. It's like I'm telling myself something, but I very much sense like it's coming from an external source. And so what are these orbs? What are they? I mean, I'm not sure. I feel like it's something extraterrestrial, but is that also something that's of Earth too? Like I don't know the answer to any of that. But yeah, I love the topic. And yeah, I really am seeing orbs. It's crazy.
So you've seen something, and then you've kind of had this feeling, and then that kind of led you to just looking for more information. Is essentially
totally
okay.
and wanting to join these panels and just wanting to know more, being super interested in the process that of disclosure. Do I even say that the US government is going through with regards to the UAP congressional hearings? And I listen to the podcasts, and I'm not completely up to date with everything. There's so much that's going on at the moment.
Oh, there's a ton.
I love Stephen Greer. I love Lou Elizondo. I want Stephen Greer to come out with something amazing, but I'm willing to continue to have faith that he will, although he does seem to charge a lot of money for his boat cruises and stuff. So yeah, I read Lou Elizondo's book, Imminent, and that's interesting. When I say read it, I listened to it on Spotify as a pod, and chapters. Really interesting book. Yeah. He's definitely got something to say. I don't think he's a government shill kind of, in as much as that. I don't think he's being paid to like trick us. I don't get that sense from him anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
I do have mixed views on everybody at the moment, to be honest. I feel like everybody kind of has their own agenda, and it's sad because everybody's kind of gone against each other in this topic as you look at it from up top. One person will say something, the other person will criticize. Jeremy, what is his name? Jeremy
Corbell?
Corbell, yeah. He's one of the other ones, too. He brings up topics, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, ends up just kind of leaving them dry, too. And kind of, I don't know, it's interesting. But if you want to go ahead and popcorn somebody else into the chat, too, I'll go ahead and let them up. I'm just interested, again, in seeing how we kind of camaraderie.
Yeah, sure.
Still Pop.
Yeah. And if you guys,
to meet you, Still Pop.
If you guys want to know how to say my name, it's Zegianox, but you can call me Zedgy if you want. Do you want to know like why I got into aliens and all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, this is crazy, and my beliefs are going to sound out of this world. Get it? All right, topic. Anyways, so basically, when I was younger, I do believe that I was abducted by interdimensional beings, which essentially I believe were different versions of myself. So that's what my profile picture and the name represents, is a different version of myself from alternate realities and universes merged into one being.
Okay.
But like, what really got me into this stuff was the weird paranormal things that happened to me when I was a kid. Like, I don't even remember. That's how long it's been. Like, I don't remember a lot of it. But even my sister, if she was here, would vouch for me that I would stand in the woods and ask when the aliens are coming to get me. And it scared a lot of my family because I'd be standing in the woods, like, why did the aliens leave me here? Why did they drop me off here and not come back for me? Almost like as if I was left there to just survive there.
Sure.
And I do remember just being like taken by them on and off, and they would show me like different worlds and stuff. I do remember a bit of it, but I don't remember every detail, because if I did, that'd be amazing. But it was just stuff like that. And I don't know if they took my consciousness or if they took my physical being. That I couldn't tell you. I'm assuming they took my consciousness.
Okay.
Because, astral projection.
Real close connection. You almost feel like you were a part of it.
Has anybody heard
And
the term for Isbies?
Wait, what, Ellie?
Isbies. Has anybody heard that term? I think I sent you something, Dill Pop, on it. What Isbies?
But like,
I would have to.
I was gonna say too, like, the reason why I call myself the Zegianox and I have the blue character as my picture is because that's literally how I see my true authentic form. Like, that's why I understand all the interdimensional being stuff. Not everything. I would never assume that I know everything, because no one does, right? No being. Even at my highest form, I still don't know everything. I don't believe in an all-powerful, all-knowing being, no matter what status they have. But I do believe that... Go ahead.
Stand for interstellar beings that are eternal, which means, like, because we're energy, we never die. We just change forms. That's all we do. It's like a level up. It's a game. You have to.
And that's where I was gonna.
Video game, and you're leveling up.
And that's where I was going to get to, too, is that we all have a Zegianox within us. So every person on this planet and other planets has their own version of the Zegianox. Like, the name is obviously to specifically encompass my being, but you get what I'm saying. Everyone has that version of themselves that exists out there. And, like, that's what I tried to spread on when I was going live, but we didn't really get anywhere. But I feel like you guys are really my people, and that's all I can think of saying besides, do you guys know about the Immaculate Constellation thing they're trying to hide?
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that. Go ahead.
I know very little about that, but I just want to continue on with what we're doing just for a little bit here. Just want to get a little, information from everybody. And then we'll dive into Immaculate Constellation, if that's okay.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to me. I'm Zegianox, the being of gender-neutral chaos. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you for being a part of the chat tonight. All right. Ellie.
Hang up. I just had to say that.
No, absolutely. Ellie, you're up.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I got distracted for a second.
Oh, you're good.
Well, I think I've always been a part of the topic because when I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, I had a cousin that died of bone cancer. And I suffered with sleepwalking, and I still do it to this day. And whenever he passed away, he was at the foot of my bed. He came to visit me, and I spoke to him. And I knew that he had passed away. I was like, call Auntie, because, telling my mom, call Auntie, because Billy just died. He literally told me, don't worry, I'm going to a better place. And I could see him, like, my eyes were open. I was speaking to him the whole 9 yards. And it scared my family a bit. But so I've always had this, and he looked like a light being. I think that this is going to sound crazy, but okay, I've got my hat on, right? My tinfoil hat is on.
Mine too.
I think that when we pass, people may pass. Some people may become orbs. Some people may become light beings. But it's like a level up of a game. I mean, from everything that I've seen, being a carer, I've seen a couple of people pass. I've birthed people into the world as well. And I know that whenever you come into the world crying, and when you die, you gasp. But you don't really die. I think you transfer like a butterfly, like the butterfly effect, maybe even concept, and you change forms. You're not really dying per se. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's almost as if your energy is just changing locations.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
So that's what's brought me into it. Is like, because I've seen so much stuff, I just want to know more. So I look deeper and deeper into the subject, and I think we all contribute.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was very good. So it's a little bit more into the otherworldly kind of stuff as
I
well.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that,
I'm not gonna
Ellie,
lie, it scared me at first, but
oh
uh,
yeah, absolutely.
because I
If,
just feel like I have a connection and I see things that, and that's another thing. Like I thought everybody could see what I could see,
mhm.
and they don't. I realized like about when I turned 40 that no, everybody doesn't see things that I see, and that scared me a bit. If that makes sense.
No, that I
I've
completely.
been
So
talking to the I've been talking to the unalived people for a while too. It seems crazy and sometimes I still doubt myself, but there are just things about us and that's why we're in this conversation. We're just different. We're like
instead of being
able to
scared of
see
it, I
things
just
that most humans ignore or don't want to see.
And that's
tried to
exactly
focus.
what in the beginning of my chat too is about like waking up. We're going to that
I
level where
missed it.
we're starting to pay attention to everything around us and our surroundings. Ellie, if you want to go ahead and popcorn somebody else in, I'll throw them up on the
Okay,
screen so you can hear.
sure.
Who are we bringing up?
I just dropped down.
No, just pick somebody in the chat if you can, and then I'll
Oh,
throw them
okay.
up.
Plenty of news.
Plenty of okay.
Yeah, I'll pop her in.
Plenty of news. It's your turn to shine. What brought you into the UFO phenomenon? What got you interested in like this topic?
So I was very happily retired with all my plants. And back in November, I noticed that there was a star where a star shouldn't be. I have large windows in the front of my home.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking at it, and then the star moved. I said, huh, that's strange. So this went on for a couple of weeks of me going outside and trying to figure out what is moving in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started following it. And now I feel like the thing follows me. But what has happened sometime between end of November to mid-December, what I thought was the star or what we call an orb today, started transitioning into what looks like, I guess the proper word is drone.
Okay.
So
All
now,
right.
okay. So now what happens is it's almost like if it's the government, they're spending a lot of money following me around. And I have videos and all that good stuff. But so now when I go outside in the evening, no matter what time, which is kind of weird, 90% of the time I'll have a friend. I call them my sky friend. And my sky friend, I live on a mountain. So my sky friends and I, we drive down the mountain. I sit down. I pick a nice place with a big clearing because my house backs up against the national forest.
Mm-hmm.
So I film them, I talk to them, and sometimes I'll go live and show the guys. And that's how it all started. So I'm just curious at this point. I just really want to know what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
And that's my story. So I shall drop down
Yep.
and let someone else speak. But I appreciate a fresh perspective.
Yeah, no, I love hearing it. I really do. I find it very interesting to see kind of what we have in common and what drew us to this particular topic together. I think that's a really important piece of our story. All right, plenty of news. Choose somebody to come on up and chat with everybody on their perspective.
Lucky me, because I haven't heard your story.
Me? Okay.
Lucky.
That's good. All right.
Oh,
Yes.
I said lucky me.
Sounds good.
Good call, Planty.
I don't know if I can pull myself up into the big screen at the moment.
Yes, you can. Just do the same thing you do to others.
Lucky me, number one.
Yeah, so essentially, I've kind of had experiences my entire life, and I don't know if it has to do with like, have any of you guys had like a traumatic like incident where it's almost life or death kind of situation?
I have a few times.
Yeah, and did any of that? Do you feel like that played into any of this?
In my case, yes.
Okay, so
The
when I
feelings,
was
emotion.
3.5 is when I had my very first experiences, my very first memory. I was on the tractor with my dad, and we were cruising. He was riding back and forth, kind of like laying down grass seed. and I had fallen asleep and rolled off the side of the vehicle where I had my head smashed by the tire of the tractor. Out of body experience, and during that time, I had seen a light. I would say it's like the sun, essentially. But that's kind of where I had this first feeling of overwhelmed, almost heard a voice that said, "You're going to be okay." And surprisingly, everything worked out from that point. I was able to see my dad, take me to the car, and they took me to the ambulance. I blacked in and out of consciousness, but I do not remember the recovery process. But after that, I started seeing the orbs, and I felt a very close connection to what would be ghosts and stuff along that line. I was out what we call night crawler hunting, if you guys are a little bit of a redneck side. My brother and I were out night crawler hunting one night, and that's where we go out, you wet down the grass, and you walk around and you pick up worms and put them in a bucket so you have fish bait.
Are you gassing?
I'm sorry, what?
You were gassing the worms? Were you gassing them?
No, not gassing them, just catching them. So we take a flashlight and you just kind of catch them and pick them up off the ground so that way we have fish bait. And I was doing that one night, and all of a sudden I noticed these lights that kind of scattered across the ground. And these lights were like green and blue, and it was literally like if you go to a concert and you see just the street lights from the lasers. It was just like that. And I freaked out. I had to have been 10 years old at this point. And I ran in just yelling at my mom, like, "Hey, you need to come out and see this. You need to come out and see this." And she was on the phone with her friend. And finally I convinced her to come outside, and her jaw just dropped because these lights did not have a source at all. There was nothing in the air that created it. It was just a light pattern on the ground. And then just like that, gone. From that point on, I've seen UAPs probably about 4 or 5 times in my life that I would say officially something that's undescribable. The last one I had was 2019, where I had seen an object probably about 100 feet above the treetops, and it was the clearest one. I've actually got photos and video footage of that. The object was the size of probably a minivan and completely silent. My brother and I chased it in the vehicle for probably about a good 5 minutes before the thing just literally disappeared in front of our eyes. So I've definitely had a connection with these for a very long time, and I've had many experiences with what I would consider ghosts, and I've also had people in the room who have witnessed that with me. So it's not, I understand all of you guys when we start talking about something that just sounds literally out of this world and crazy, and you're like, man, how can I describe this to somebody so they can believe me? And
yeah,
the matter is sometimes you can't. We're talking about stuff that is literally undescribable, and so it comes down to faith and like our stories, and that's why I think all of this is so important. So
I want Angela to speak too. We got to hear about her stuff, right, Angela? Let's go, girl.
Yeah, let's
Angela.
get in here.
So I've always dealt with the paranormal my whole life, and I have photos going back to age 5 of these entities that were taken by my grandmother, who was a psychic remote viewer. I did not know this till a couple years ago on this app, but I really got into the UFO, UAP stuff in 2011, specifically August 3rd, 2011, 10:49 p.m. in Duplin County, North Carolina. I saw a UFO land, not crash, at Kenansville Private Airport, which also hosts a CIA black site. I don't think that particular craft, and I was in the middle of a cow field. This thing was huge. I think it was military just because I live in between 3 bases, and it's logical if that's a black site that maybe this is reverse engineered. But what I was more curious was about right before that landed, we heard like a humming sound coming from the woods. That's what got our attention to turn in the first place. About 30 minutes after that, when the military's already at this airport, they had blocked off everything. There's this orange glowy ball thing in the sky that was zipping and zooming and like going left and right, and then it just completely went away. And turns and speeds that it's hard to comprehend. And like I said, I've always dealt with paranormal. I'm very open to that, but that type of stuff was really mind-blowing for me, and it kind of opened up this long journey of digging and finding out things. And I asked my family member about it, and they were very particular about stay off social media, don't talk about this stuff. They were not on it. They were they did not want me digging into the stuff. And the more I dig, the deeper it gets. You know, I didn't know that my grandfather worked for the Pentagon, let alone there's some crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
But
you got an interesting story.
Oh yeah, and I post receipts, I post the NDA agreements, photos. I have photos of my grandfather in a Leavenworth shirt, but when I contacted to get the records, there's no records. So either he was under an alias or some type of project. And then after that, he moved to Mexico, specifically Jalisco, Mexico, where he had a house in Guadalajara and he had a house in Jalapa, and he was working on some ruins in between there that he said correlated with Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. So I don't know what all they're involved in. I just know that it had to somehow tie to metaphysical or that type of stuff, just judging off his history in the military and what he was affiliated with.
Okay. So you got connected really very tightly from something you've seen and then also family members as well.
Yes, sir.
I think if you look at all of us, you would find that there's some military in every one of us, background-wise.
Yep.
Yes.
Seems to be the theme. That's
Most
the
of my family was in the military.
I have a friend on here I can introduce you to. Her name is Ophelia, but her father owned the land that the Dolce base was built on. He was also a contractor, and she inherited some documents like I did. But the problem she's having is a lot of the stuff is still classified, and she does not know the ins and outs on how to get it declassified. So if any of you guys would be able to, I have other friends and whistleblowers. Jason, he's a good friend of mine, Jason Sands. He helps a lot of other survivors and whistleblowers on Twitter. He's very active in the community. I have information of his that I'll never share, just because, he was being blacklisted from getting a job in, the contracting world. And so I've seen what he has. I know he's legit. He's looked into my stuff. He's just a great guy. So I'm excited to see you guys talk to him and then potentially meet some of the others.
Angela, just sorry to butt in, but Angela, he's going to be on UFO MUFC's channel.
Yeah, he told me earlier. I'm excited.
That's the chat that's literally on the panel now, Dilly Bob. UFO MUFC. He's going to be on his channel on Sunday, live, discussing everything whistleblower-ified. So everybody's really excited.
I'll definitely be there to show support because he's had my back so much. So I'm taking down a group on Twitter. It's separate, but there's like a human movement ring going on and some kind of it's psychological warfare tactics being utilized on civilians. It's, I suspect some of these people are being paid. So I'm chasing the paper trail and kind of like going through, I've documented my entire experience online. So there's like a lot of trolling, a lot of harassment, stalking, hacking. It's really insidious, but there's some common denominators. And he's unfortunately braced some of that group as well.
I think game stalking is definitely a real thing. It sounds like that's what's happening to you.
They even mess with your algorithms too at times. I've had my algorithm messed with because I've said the wrong thing, and they really can basically read your minds at this
They'll
point.
shut you up. So like
don't realize
Facebook,
that.
they forced me to do a mandatory 2-step verification. I had to buy a computer chip thingy to plug into my phone to get access to my photos and my messages, which I needed because all my contacts are on Facebook. All my dad's battle buddies, all my evidence, like my whole story of finding the stuff out is on Messenger. So that's kind of a liability. I understand why they would do that. But at that point in time, I knew none of this stuff. So like they said the reason was because I had a greater potential to get hacked and a greater potential to reach a larger target of audience. But I'm not talking like that. It's really crazy how these algorithms are able to predict things, whether they can see things.
And every time,
they can mirror your phone even. I mean,
and every time I talk to my friends on Discord about this, the app glitches or I get cut off every time.
Or you get completely kicked from the app altogether, black screen.
Yep.
It's the
That happens on Twitter a lot.
It's the same one here, though. You start messing with your volume, they start messing with your microphones and everything when you start talking about certain topics.
Like Johnson County Regional Airport being a CIA black site that orchers people. Lou Elizondo wouldn't name the contractor. It's Aero Contractors, AERO. They have orchard axes. I'll name it.
Guys, I'm sorry to butt in, but I'm just gonna put Jason Sands' TikTok on it. If you guys can follow him, so he's got enough followers for Sunday.
He needs to get to 1,000, but he wants to obviously have his face on screen, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he needs about 250 more followers. We'll get there before Saturday night, but if you guys in the comments and live when you come off, follow his account, that'll be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Did you say you were last time you were on, did you say you were working on like a book or something?
Who's that?
You. Are you working on a book? What?
No, not a book. I'm not really a good writer. But I am working on a side project right now. I've been working on this now for probably about 3 years. I have about 1.5 terabytes of footage and video.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Oh, sorry, what's that?
I'm looking forward to seeing some of it because you said so. You dropped a little bit.
Yeah, I tried to tease it a smidge. I don't know if I'm going to release it anytime soon just yet. It's a couple episodes I would say are done, but there's a topic that I'm waiting for, and I'm hoping that it comes out within probably the next year. And if it happens, that's when the video should maybe follow suit.
I'm gonna ask you, will it help make sense of this whole, like, I feel like we're on a board game in a way as well. And will it put some of the pieces to the board game together, so to speak?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, if what I'm thinking is correct and what I've kind of dove into and pieced together. Again, I don't have the ending. I found a lot of clues early on, and I've talked to people like War Deadpool and everything like this, and I've really, I got on topic super hard the first year that I dove down to this story. And one of the interesting things is where I started finding these clues and these hints, things to this story that continuously is unraveling. This year, particularly in the last probably 2 months, I've seen 3 or 4 pieces of the puzzle start to click together, and I'm like, holy smokes! I'm like, that is interesting. This is interesting. So, starting to see a lot of connections, and this is big. I mean, Ross Coulthart is involved with it. Stephen Greer is interestingly involved, and then we have Lou Elizondo, who is a face of part of this story. So, I mean, we are. What I'm following is really, really, really big. So
you've helped me a lot because, again, I'd say that you're one of the top ones. Whenever I first really started looking hard into the situation of things, you kind of some of the stuff that you put out made me feel not so crazy as well. I mean, I just appreciate that. I want to say thank you
because a lot of people too, when that whole News Nation thing came out with the egg-shaped UFO, they got mad at people for saying that wasn't enough evidence to prove to a non-believer, which I believe that's not enough proof to show to a non-believer and have them believe it. I'm on that side of the spectrum because I'm sick of getting fed breadcrumbs, especially since people were made to pay for that.
Yeah.
Imagine paying for something that you believe is supposed to be groundbreaking, and all you see is an egg.
What's going on? Because
all
if you
you
look
see,
oh, sorry.
Here's what I don't understand.
No, one sec. So, and then imagine you're paying for this, right? And you think it's going to be a breakthrough, and all you see is an egg attached to duct tape and a string, pretty much. That was not enough evidence for me. I'm sorry. If I was a non-believer, I would have made fun of that.
Wasn't
it's
there
real.
That egg though? Is that the one that had the egg?
The thing
so
that
what happened to the being?
the thing that's getting to me is how. So, for instance, with Jake Barber, and so we all stayed up and watched it live on TikTok, and then literally when it was shown, everybody just focused on the egg, right? But there was way more to that whole interview than just the egg.
Yes, it was.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
There
was so much.
Yeah, but
my favorite part.
It wasn't only
the problem is.
Hold on.
The problem is everybody was saying this is groundbreaking. Gary Nolan came out and said, "I've seen a clip. You won't be disappointed." As soon as we saw,
I don't trust him.
I literally turned around and said, "I'm going to get boiled eggs on shoelaces in my inbox." As soon as I came off that live, it was already in my messages, a boiled egg on a shoelace. And this is what I mean. Everybody, groundbreaking news. It was like the Night Shift podcast. We've got proof that the 1997 Victor interview is 100% real. I'm sorry, but the name is not 100% proof to say that it's real. That was more a call out to try and find the guy.
So remember, I said earlier too that these hints that I've been picking up on for a year or two, where I said you guys need to wake up. I don't know if you were here or not for that portion.
Yeah.
this information is there. It's in that video particularly too, because yes, everybody focused on the video of the egg, and that was the major portion. Now, keep in mind too that all of us in this community are deep in this topic, and for us, we need a lot, and we look for it. So the information that comes to us is sometimes minuscule, but to an outsider who is just first time ever getting into this topic, this could be a lot if they are paying attention. You know what I mean? So it has to be dribbled out. But
sorry,
hold on. The biggest piece of information that came to me out of that topic of the egg was the fact that Jake Barber then went into the details of the Sonic, where he was talking about the overwhelming feeling of the feminine energy. And I think, could be wrong, but I do think that was a huge portion of our story moving forward from here. So these
I agree.
The favorite, the best part.
What about the asset?
The best part. One more thing, and then I'll shut up. I promise. There was just this one part that got me though, that I really found interesting, is when he talked about psionic abilities, being able to use your consciousness to contact and even summon UFOs, and to talk to AI.
And
like you can literally like. I believe in that because I do it too. I talk to AI with my consciousness. Yes. I believe in that. That's what got me.
Once we got that video of the egg, and since that portion of that clip has come out, what have we seen or heard in the UFO community? It's been nothing but psionic talk, right?
Yes. And that upsets me, that enrages me to my core, because like when I came on that app on Twitter 3.5 years ago, trying to beg people to look into this, they were laughing at me. I mean, there's so many recorded stuff. A lot of these big name peoples. Gary Nolan blocked me instantly when I asked him, did you work with my grandfather? I was only asking because I inherited some documents and there's certain names on there and I wanted to know. And instead of answering my question, because at that point in time I didn't know any of this, I didn't even know who he was, he blocked me instantly. And like some of these other big names, like Astral, he's got an account on Twitter. I gave him my grandmother's phone number, who was a psychic remote viewer. She was still alive. She worked for a corporation called PSI Tech. Like if you look into that, there's a lot of history into that. He didn't validate it. Even though I passed off this information freely, I'm not charging anything. I want answers and I want justice, because, you know, I'm trying to tell people, like, they take kids and they test on them in not humane manners, involving illegal substances, torture methods. It's very insidious and dark. And there is no overhead. There is no protection for these kids. And then we're forced to grow up and have to walk it off. And this pattern is continuing with other children. When is enough going to be enough? If you don't care about survivors that have already gone through it, can't you at least research these locations to make sure it's not continuing? I'm okay with not getting my justice if we can at least make some progress. You know, that I think that'd be fulfilling enough.
Agreed. I think that it's going to take time too. I'm sorry that he blocked you and stuff. I don't know
what
reason behind something like that.
He was probably scared to talk.
Oh, they don't like this topic.
Yeah, I think this topic is very touchy, and I feel like the information that's coming out, there's a reason why I wasn't telling all the details as to what I did.
I probably have evidence you could use, sir. I've documented it all.
You cannot silver line asset trafficking, as he called it. I don't care what you say. It's, you know, because what happens to the assets that don't make the grade? What programs do they go on? That's the question.
That's a great question. Because like I still have some friends that went through this with me, 2 individuals. So at least I know it's not all in my head. But they refuse to give me access to my TRICARE records, which I specifically need so I can know the names of the doctors. I have my journals, but that's not always enough. You know what I mean? Even though they go back to age 7, that's from a child's perspective. When you have it on paper and data like that, you can kind of chase the paper trail aspect of it. And the fact that they're not even willing to give me my own medical records, I think is telltale.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to talk about the psionic abilities aspect too, though, because in my life, I swear I've experienced having this ability on multiple occasions. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, even on TikTok, like, sure, some of the videos could be faked, but for the most part, I believe these people are really using their open-minded consciousness to summon these beings to talk to them, even if it's unconsciously. Because I believe too, like they said, you can communicate with technology and UFOs and UAPs and even summon them using your consciousness.
And same with energy, paranormal, interdimensional, like a lot of the missing persons cases that I deal with are in that manner. And we've done a few of them live on the air, like 13-year-old Haley Williams. She was abducted out of Pennsylvania by a 27-year-old man from New York. The three-letter F agency was involved, but they were treating her as a runaway case. They were more concerned with how we got the suspect's information than us being correct. And it took them over 8 hours to get to that location. She was already assaulted by that time. But we've done that with numerous cases on here. And I'm like, anyone that's interested in this type of stuff, I do target objects every once in a while. I'm not personally connected to that. I'm more into like locations and people, mainly because I don't want to be used as a guinea pig. Like, that's what I was trying to contact Gary Nolan about in the first place. Like, look, I have MRIs. I have evidence of certain things that I cannot explain, and I would be willing to let a doctor or scientist look into this stuff if it was recorded and I felt safe. You know what I mean? If there was some type of fail-safe program, just because I'm genuinely scared. They don't understand what happened at Wright Pat. They don't understand Wright Laboratories and what took place there and the levels and the insidiousness that this goes. And I'm not saying everybody's experience is like that, but in mine, it was. And I just wish that people would be a little bit more open to the weaponization of these abilities. As great as the possibilities are endless with what you could do, but unfortunately that doesn't make a lot of money, and they're more concerned with how to weaponize these things. And there's even documents, which I posted like 3 years ago, where they were able to get these same abilities without the torture methods, but they didn't have the control factor.
Now, I got a question for this too, with the weaponization of the UAP. Now, Stephen Greer has taken a different approach, like I talked about earlier, and then we have Lou Elizondo. Now, is it possible that Lou's team of people that he's working with have chosen to use these UAP as a topic of war, per se, because it's the only way to move forward and get this information in front of Congress? Or maybe they wouldn't be taking it seriously if it wasn't a serious problem to, the United States? Because that's how they've played the card the entire time. Do you think that?
What if it's a little deeper than that? And this is just I like to play strategy games, and just going off stuff like that. What if that is the only way to push off weaponizing these things? I'm not saying they're complete villains, but just in my personal experience with that particular group, there's certain subjects they do not want to talk about at all. They're not open to it at all. What if they want to create that fear, because fear is a weapon, to kind of control the narrative aspect?
Not to mention funding. They're setting up funding as we speak. That's what they're doing in the White House. They're trying to set up funding, and they're using the fear factor to do it.
Now that plays into the entire story as well. You bring up a great point. I
have a private Discord of just evidence of this group. I just don't ever share it, but I could give you some stuff.
No, for sure.
And what about the people who said they hear voices in their head and have these weird frequencies in their head?
It's not always schizophrenia. A lot of people think
that's also part
of it.
But
like some people say. Some people say too they weaponize these frequencies, direct energy weapons.
But that goes back to the checkerboard that I was telling you. I feel like we're on a game board, and I know it sounds crazy, but think of it: if we're all computers of some sort. Hold on, just a second. Your brain, they've already proven that your brain is your biological computer. Yeah. And if you're on a game, a system. That you're not aware of, but you're actively moving, and maybe they're using the conscious level, your consciousness plays some part into it. Yeah. And so when you get these downloads, these breakthroughs, you're moving up, you're leveling up, so to speak. Does that make sense?
That was exactly what I was going to say, because we have so much power in our brain. I actually called out for my mother when I was in the toilet in a restaurant downstairs because it was no toilet paper, and she came in and the restaurant was very, very big. She came into the toilet and she said, "What are you sitting here screaming about?" "No, what do you think I'm sitting here in the toilet and screaming? Give me some toilet paper, for heaven's sake." So, your brain are so powerful, and Yeah, you can do lots of things if you just open it. Have to open.
Yeah,
Open
you can connect with a lot of things with it.
But it's like a hard drive.
One of the things that I find interesting too is that it's just, this goes way back to what I was talking about earlier with this whole thing being planned out. Like the whole thing with Luna coming out recently, and we have Congress and our presidents who are sweeping the closet and cleaning out all this information, open and transparent with us. I don't think that's just because it's out of the kindness of their heart. I definitely do have a feeling that it's tied together with the UFO phenomenon, as Luna is going to be diving into that in her transparency portion. I honestly, I feel like this was all planned since the beginning to come out with that. And it's a
The Jake Barber footage.
right now, we don't trust them. And so they want us to trust them so they can guide us in another direction when the government comes out on top.
What about the willow chip?
I want to respond. Can I respond? It was this XA. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm from Sweden.
Oh, you're good. You're okay.
I want to respond. Yeah, it would be really crazy because if we were the lonely, existing, what can I say? Not people, existing. Stand still in my head. Sorry, existing humans who in the whole galaxy, it would be crazy because then we would, would be like we are not alone. I don't think we are alone. I think it's a lots of other Earths around.
Well, we can only see 1% of what's around us. 1%.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine that? If we can only see 1% of what's around us.
Yeah.
See, and another thing is like when you look into the projects that the military has gone in, specifically with psionics and psychic ability, it started off with Grill Flame. Grill Flame, they started off with 12 participants. Not all 12 made it. 6 were originally chosen. 3 went into multiple categories where they worked with other agencies while they worked with Insicom. But like Grill Flame is where they tested these abilities. Then there's Sunstreak, which Sunstreak dived into a way deeper level of this, how to like open it, how to weaponize certain things. And it went, Gondala's Wish, Star Flame, which is still classified, and that's more into like telepathic hypnosis, how to like manipulate the masses. And that's one thing my grandmother was telling me, like she did something called astral security for the military. Well, this was back when she was contracting for a corporation called PSI Tech. There's certain locations that are military that they do not want people with this natural ability to interfere with, to be able to gather classified information that could be potentially weaponized with other countries. And that is an ongoing occurrence that I've seen, not on just this app, but on Twitter. Most people in America don't want to talk to actual survivors or whistleblowers. It's people from other countries, and you kind of have to be mindful with that because you don't know what you're sitting on. You don't know why they want this information. Like I've met some really scary people, and as much as you want the help and you want the understanding, you kind of have to pick and choose what is safe to share and what is not. Just because in my personal experience, most people that are involved in our own country, certain chapters they don't want talked about, like the shell companies. Think been told to not talk about those in the black sites at all, or my personal opinion on how they tie to Fort Bragg. And I think it's important because I think it ties not only to the PSI and UAP, but human orchard. You know what I mean? I think that they're weaponizing this on a mass scale, and this is happening multi-continental. It's not just in one location. Like when you start looking into the paperwork, the network is huge. And I just don't understand the secrecy. Like if something is dangerous, if something is more harmful to be talked about, why not talk to that person that's searching for these answers in the first place so that they can have an understanding, so that they know this is going to cause more damage than good, so that they can focus on, continuing. I don't understand the gatekeeping and the blatant disrespect and like causing gang stalking. Like some of the methods that are utilized are really toxic when it comes to disclosure, and I've seen it happen where they'll push people off the app like intentionally, like to silence them. And I want to know what the root issue is on why they are like that.
Not to mention people taking their own lives because they make them feel like they're crazy.
Yes, that's a huge
That's
problem.
that's an aspect that is never talked about, but it happens quite frequently.
I
That's
have
why they call us
probably over like
conspiracy theorists.
60 recordings in just the past 2 years of people telling me to unalive myself. Big name accounts too. Like that King Milkfart dude, I can't stand him. And I know him. I know where he lives. I have all his information, all of it. He tried to dox me, so I doxed him first. And just like that 17 SOG dude, he works for FEMA, and I have to shut up about these things. Like I look into the accounts that target me because I want to know, who do you run with? You know, like is this intentional? Are you just trying to provoke a trauma response? You know what I mean? Is this mind games? Because like you said earlier, talk about the checkerboard. I was taught to play chess and Risk. You got to stay 3 to 5 steps ahead. You have to be able to get your head, your mind into your opponent's mental, capacity and how they're thinking, and try to predict their moves. So that way you can, eliminate casualties, not necessarily, on a human scale, but on the, emotional scale. It feels like a war zone, and they're using psychological warfare tactics on civilians in spaces in real time.
I'm
Are you
curious.
thinking about this a lot? Because I hope you're not going around and be scared of, being listened on when you're talking on a telephone or something.
Oh, I'm
Or
targeted in real life, and I have it documented.
Okay.
I don't even have access to the cameras in my house. Like when I say this stuff is really in depth, like they place people in your life just to keep tabs. And this has been my whole reality, since birth, and I didn't know. Think of like the Truman Show. It's really insidious to find out like that all these people are contractors. That my dad taught the SEER course. His job was to torture people, and to find out the level of stuff. And to be approved for over 2,000 documents, like what all is in that? What all were they involved in?
Look at the Brown and Root. Brown and Root is
I hope it's not stopping you to
company
live.
that
You
you all
know?
should all know.
Oh no, I have contingency plans. My
They're
dad
like
was,
handlers.
yes.
People are there to distract you from your main mission and purpose.
Psychological warfare tactics.
Wow, this has got deep tonight.
I'm trying to censor, but I have receipts on my page until they get taken down.
I want to get. Can I go back a little bit? You talked before about, feeling
Well,
bad.
first, there's a gentleman that he I think he wanted to come up. He's actually a very very good information. His name is Hallucination Hippies.
Okay.
And I believe he was. Yeah, I don't know if he put in a request yet, but he wanted to come up.
All right, I'll
I can
add
drop.
that to the chat. But go
There's a
ahead.
box.
But yeah, he has a lot of information.
Yeah. When me and my son were sitting and we were making food, and we heard a crash outside, and I said to him, "That is your friend Jonas. Something happened." I don't know why. I don't know how I knew that. And then we heard it on television that a boy had been run over by a train.
Oh no.
And I said to Lucas, it's your friend, it's Jonas. And I woke up. It was something wake me up. And I opened the window, and he was living in the other house. And it came out a girl meeting 2 other people, and she screamed, "Jonas is unalived, Jonas is unalived." And I woke up Lucas and said, I had right, Jonas. He had actually, he and a friend crossed the train trails, and they came this fast train and just hit him, and his friend was standing behind him and saw his friend just disappear. And it was like his soul went to me, because it's like he knew that I was the one who knew that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Hear that though. How are you? It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining the live.
How is everybody?
Doing great.
I followed you.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Doing great. Hope everybody's doing it. Yeah, I've been listening in. I was trying to use psionics and send you a request. But
There's a lot going on this side of the screen.
You in the corner.
But yeah, no, it's good to see him, that guy. Yeah, have you've been listening in? So you want to jump in with a little bit, like what got you involved in this topic as well?
Oh boy, it's been a long time. Several things. I mean, the first thing that really did was a story that I got from a family member that had an encounter that was really interesting. So that hooked me in right away, and I was young at that point, but yeah, they had a pretty cool experience, and so it got me. So from then on, it was like, all right, I got to figure this out.
It's one of those things when you get hooked, it gets you. It really does.
100%.
Awesome. Well, there was a question that was asked earlier, and I'm trying to remember the name of it because I'm terrible at names. So it happened during the conference of Congress. They brought up the name of a specific document. Somebody in the chat brought it up earlier, and they wanted to talk about it.
Immaculate Constellation.
Yep, there it is. Thank you. So what do you guys know about that? Let's go ahead and dive into that topic. See what we can all pull together.
I don't know anything right now. I want to see if anyone else knows. All I know is that it was mentioned during the recent hearing for UAPs, where that one woman was like, I'm going to get it put on a list, but I don't care. Immaculate
I
Constellation.
have some documents from when I was in the KMF group chat on their Discord, and I have some from the Red Panda Koala and then the Tupa. So I'll have to go back in my other Discord because I archived it, but that was from like 2 years ago. So I don't know in depth just because that was around the same time Ashton Forbes. That's when I met him.
Okay.
But I do have documents that they were sharing.
Yeah, what I know about it, I believe that Nancy Mays is the lady who brought it to our attention. And I believe that she had mentioned it was somebody else who gave her the paperwork, and I believe that it was Jeremy. I think that was the end result of the story.
Yeah, his name got screwed off the. That's what he's claiming, isn't it? Because he was the one that brought it to the table. He spoke to somebody that's confirmed sort of the crash retrieval side of things and everything like that. So.
I think this all took place on that Discord, if I'm correct. I believe that's where I saw all this stuff happen in real time. There was actually kind of like a fight over stealing information.
Yeah, I know that Knapp and Jeremy both, like in that conference of
George is awesome. I love him.
They definitely kind of got mad. And I think that's maybe why Jeremy kind of went out and did what he did on that last interview. If you guys seen him, it was very interesting. He was sitting in a room and he was talking to a camera guy. Have you guys seen that clip? And they asked Jeremy, so like, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on? And he said, well, there's going to be a secret. This is a secret. And he goes, I want you to really think about what I'm about to say, and if you want to show this to the world or not. And I found this very interesting because what he went on to say after that, he said, once I tell you this information, if it goes public, there's a good chance that this information could change the course of what is to come. And I thought that was so interesting that he would say that, because what he told us was that their game plan is that there's a UFO that's supposed to come to us, and there's supposed to be a war. We're gonna, whatever it was. There's a UFO on the way to us.
It's a massive mothership. It's going to be put in the sky in 2027. And before this was even said, I keep banging on about why NASA are the biggest purchaser of glitter, and glitter is a main component in holograms. You're not going to build a massive mothership from raw materials. It's not going to be financially feasible. The only way you're going to be able to do that is by putting a hologram in the sky. And they've already had the practice run in China when they covered that lake with a massive city, and you saw flying on the bloody washing lines. Do you know what I mean? It's, you've got to think outside the box when with this subject. I mean, call me whatever you want, but there's so much going off at the minute, and you need to think outside the box, because there's so much things that are pointing at things. I don't know if anybody else seems to think that, but the whole one world order thing, for instance, and you've got Elon Musk attacking every single European super country. I mean, the UK is absolutely screwed at the minute. It's tax on tax on tax on tax. The British public are not happy with what's going on in this country. And then we're all there going, yeah, come on, we want Donald Trump to come and take over the world. Donald Trump turned around in some of his statements and said, you'll never have to vote again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I remember
You've only
that.
got 4 years in term. So, you know, how are you not going to be able to vote again?
Mhm.
And, I'm thinking outside the box
I
here,
have to
guys,
get
like I
off.
say. And,
It's
and then
because you
you've
want to
got, you've
be a
got,
It was
dictator.
great
That's
seeing you,
why.
Angela.
You've got that other guy coming out and confirming that you said had paid for COVID and that it was a biochemical weapon to use against the general public, and that they've paid for more. And then in the UK at the minute, you're seeing vaccine centres pop up left, right, and centre for mpox.
Mhm.
And then John Stewart came out on the Night Shift podcast right at the very end, and I don't know whether anybody has watched it. Has anybody seen the Night Shift podcast with?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So right at the very end, he even turns around, sounds scared to death, and mentions about the depopulation plan.
Yeah, it's true. The 2027 thing is definitely something that's hanging over our heads.
Yeah,
At
and that's
the multiple connection pieces to that. You have Chris Bledsoe with his theory. This one here is the one world government. That kind of leads into the story as to what I was going with. Again, I don't know the end result, but the control manipulation piece of their story. As I said earlier, how the government, we know that our military could easily be 10, 15 years ahead with technology. Why couldn't our government also be? And then they're teaching us like curriculum with these large events that are taking place, leading us in a direction that they want us to go. And now here they are sitting on this side, sweeping out the closet, opening up the doors to the Pentagon and to the government. Because the Pentagon on one side has still come out and said, oh, well, there's no such thing as UFOs. This technology doesn't exist. On the other hand, portions of the government are coming out and saying, no, this definitely does exist, confusing the average reader. So now what they're doing is sweeping the closet, and you've got Luna coming out saying, oh, look, guys, we're going to dive into all these topics, and we're going to show you this, putting the average viewer in line to follow suit. When they come out and they say, look, this is how everything is, you believe them. Who has control at that point? The government. Then they can push you in any direction they want. So, yeah, I mean, that's a theory. It's just a theory, but
Can I
theory.
could I say something about you? You touched on saying that the government's like 10 to 15 years ahead of us on technology, especially the military, right? I think it's even further than that. I think that there's technology that's far, far beyond 10 or 20 years.
Yep.
That they're hiding from us. And because look at what all you have to do is look at like examples like the F-117, the B-2 stealth bomber, the U-2, any kind of technology that they kept secret for a long time, and then finally said, "Oh, here, look at this, what we got."
Exactly.
The F-22, the stuff that it uses to remain stealth, and the stuff that it can do, we have no idea yet because they probably have technology that is so far beyond that that they're keeping from us, that they're hiding for the fact that they may need to use it one day.
I fully agree with that. There was a video a long time ago that got suppressed and tweaked since I watched it last, but Tom DeLonge was on Joe Rogan's podcast a while ago, and he came out and was talking about some of this information that since has kind of been covered up a little bit. And I found it very interesting because he was talking about UFO kind of craft. I don't think it had a name specifically at that time, but he was showing Joe Rogan this ship. It was a black ship, and it lifts up, and he goes, see, you can see a fin on that right there. And he said, that right there is a man-made craft, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't have any fins like that. And he said, in a second, you're going to see it power up and then disappear. And it does, and then just gone. And there's a bright white light. And he goes, see that? And then Joe Rogan was like, dude, like you're bonkers, man. Like that's not real. And he was
absolutely, it is
convinced. Now this man, if you guys don't know about him, you need to look into him. I'm just saying, he's got some deep. But it's very interesting. And another thing that he had mentioned in that same interview was him talking specifically about a thing called the redshift. And the redshift is extremely interesting because it was a technology that allows us to essentially stop time and space. And you can fly into somebody's hand and literally move a Coke can out of his hand or put it back and literally go in and out of time and see things. And he said that time doesn't, like, we can travel through time or hop time, and it's not like in the movies when we time travel, because it's like what is that movie called? Back to the Future. He said it's more so like we can freeze time and then see it in different dimensions as we go through a thing. It was an extremely interesting interview, hard to find, but just saying, it's a spot to pay attention.
This is what I say about supposed like aliens. Like, we see these ships that move beyond our what we think is possible by physics, right? And I also believe that they may be from a dimension that perceives time far differently than we do. It may not, like, we perceive time as a line on a board.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a start and there's an end someday. Right? They may not look at it like that. It may not be a line. It may be a wavy line. It may be, it may not even look like a line, like we have no words for what how they would perceive time. They may be able to see the past, future, and present all at the same time.
This is the best way I can describe time, and my theory of what I've learned is like a record, where in the beginning you have a start and end date, right? So we start here and we could end here, and life right now might very well be somewhere in the middle of this. And the end's already planned out. This is a theory, but if you think about it, the universe is constantly expanding and pulling in every direction. So there's multiple different ways. And if Tom was even remotely right about his topic, if we could redshift and we could bump into different timelines, essentially tomorrow is right beside us and past could just be yesterday. And maybe when we see ghosts, or maybe when we see the unexplainable, what it is we're just rubbing into that other timeline.
The veil between the two dimensions is thin. That's what it is.
To come up.
Yeah, like the veil between the two dimensions is thin, so there you can see into it temporarily.
Yep.
But I also believe that, like,
but see, that also brings in the question on multiple species. If there's, if the species actually has the capability of being able to jump to these different places in time, also, because I mean, for all we know, there could be one species that can do it and one species that can't, and determining on which one they can do. I mean, if it's a higher being type entity or whatever, I'm pretty sure they have access to whatever bit of time they want,
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, they don't perceive time the way we do as a line. They perceive it way differently. So when they think about us, they don't understand. Maybe they don't understand how we perceive time. Like, we don't understand how they perceive it. So, like,
exactly.
So, like,
being that are
and physics,
three-dimensional beings,
physics may work totally different in their dimension as well. We don't know.
Yep.
Right? I believe in the multiverse theory as well, where, like, every decision you make in your life could go the other way.
Me too.
Right? But so there could be infinite. Like, honestly, there could be a universe out there where I rule planet Earth.
Yep.
Or you could rule planet Earth, because an alternate version of us chose very different paths.
Yep.
Right? And but I also believe, I've heard about the Anunnaki, and I've read a little bit about it. I don't totally understand everything, but like, they were able to move across vast distances using vibrational technology.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. That we still don't understand. Well, at least as far as I know.
Yeah, as far as we know. Yep.
As far as we know. Like, and it's just interesting, like the idea that they used some sort of rod to create a portal that would allow them to travel vast distances, like across the Earth or across our solar system or to another dimension. And we never gained that technology to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you guys ever like heard anything about the Anunnaki and stuff? Like, there was a guy on Joe Rogan that talked about it. I can't remember his name.
That's where I started. So I was massively religious when I was a kid. I got told that I used to like see stuff when I was a kid. Got told it was all like evil because my mum was massively religious and stuff like that. So kind of shut off from that side of things, and then went into all sort of like conspiracy stuff. But then for the past sort of 4 years, like yourself did, Bob, it's like where I first started really heavily researching, because I got sort of like into Egypt and everything like that, and then you get into Egypt and it takes you to the Anunnaki basically, and I really do believe the Anunnaki theory, because we've got junk DNA that nobody can tell us where it came from. It's placed there, you know. So
well, the theory behind the DNA is that each Anunnaki that was on Earth created every different race that's on the planet because they wanted their slaves to look a certain way and talk a certain language and whatnot, so that if their slave escaped, they would be instantly recognized by the other Anunnaki slaves.
Very interesting.
Right? And that's why, and they altered our DNA to make us the humans that we are. And that's why if they say that in our DNA, there's a SWOT that actually proves that it's been altered at one point.
Yep, I've heard.
That's what I mean. There's a piece of DNA in there that they can't tell us where it came from, and that's
yeah,
what
and
I mean. Literally
that's the mark. That's the mark of that of the alteration they did.
Yeah, exactly. Because as we all know, like the story goes, you know, that they came to Earth, they brought a race with them called the GG, and they literally were worked to the bone. This is like a very cut down version. Worked to the bone, and then literally said, "No, we don't want to do it anymore." They had a meeting, then created humans out of a Homo sapien that was already here. I mean, the species that were here weren't intelligent enough to do the work that they needed. So, if you look at religion, there is so many stories from the Sumerian tablets that are in the Bible, and you know, the codes and everything like that, you know, chariots of fire descending from the heavens, Moses talking to a burning bush. There's so many things in there that point, and then you've got the books that are taken out, like the Book of Enoch, and
yeah, that's where it's taken from.
Yeah, him visiting the 10 levels of heaven and all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, the Bible is a history book, but it's very, very heavily manipulated to control man by sort of for me, this is my theory anyway. When the Anunnaki left, it was, you know, we were left to sort of do our own thing, really, weren't we? And then this religion was made to sort of control humanity, because for somewhere history got lost.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and then,
I believe that the Bible is used
imagine
to scare
sorry.
people. Yeah, no, I think the Bible is used for scaring people to follow certain rules. Yeah, I don't know.
I agree.
The Roman Empire became the Catholic Church, basically.
Yeah,
I believe in God, but I don't believe in the Bible.
The idea of the religion was to control us, and they made sure to hide the secrets of the Anunnaki from us, because imagine the chaos that happened after the Anunnaki left, because they purposely made us violent, because they used us in their wars as well.
They found
that's why we have such a violent nature, humans, because it's made to be in us.
Yeah, you have to think we are animals too, so
I'm just saying,
we
like
hate each other.
Yeah, it was made, but we were made for that. Like they were using us for not just building things, but they were using us in their wars, and they were using us as whatever they wanted to use us for. So they bred certain qualities into us to make us easier to control, first of all, and violence, because they wanted something like creatures to fight their wars for them.
One of the things that I keep seeing though recently has been something about like we need to love and come together as a generation and community in order to get to this next level. Chris Bledsoe has touched on it. Tom has touched on it. A few others as well. And I find it very interesting as to, like, Stephen Greer even as well. So one of the things is that we fight, we argue, we worry about each other's sexes and races and all of this stuff and war. And for some reason or another, we need to come together as an entire world and species and realize that we're humans and we have to go up a level in consciousness in order to see the next portion. Have you guys heard anything about that?
Yeah, but I think we take down each other because as long as we are friends, we can hold a secret. We can, we can take lots of shit from a person as long as we are friends. But if we are not friends anymore, then we spit out everything that person has said. We go, we go for the soft points and we go low, and that's how most of the humans are. I don't know why, but we are like that. Stupid, but yeah. Because when you're friends again, you have talked too much. You can't go back and undo what you told everyone.
Yeah, words can hurt people for sure.
Exactly.
But to touch on what you said about the mothership coming, I believe that will be a driving force to unify the Earth in total. Because if they come with violence in mind, we're more than capable of inflicting violence. Look at what we do to each other.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, but at the same time, their technology would far surpass human technology.
But it's also
but we make the
too.
technology to hurt each other.
Yeah, and I'm sure that many governments around the world are prepared for when they get here. They have bunkers that they're going to take people into, certain people, right? And they're going to protect a certain amount of people so that they can,
rich people.
But also they're going to take people that they're going to be able to use for, like,
money. Keep the rich.
Not just rich people, because you got to take people that are going to be able to do things for you when the time comes. Because let's say these aliens come and they want to dominate us. Right?
Oh, you can send one out.
I would immediately surrender. I'd be like, dominate me. I'm not fighting.
I'm just saying, like, they come here and they want to take over the world.
I have to fight.
So they come here, they take over our world, and they start to use us as slaves. So, let's say, right?
Yeah,
you're going to want people in those bunkers to be able to infiltrate the population to subvert the enemy, so that you can get technology from the enemy to those bunkers for people to analyze and, like, upgrade humanity so that we can fight them on their level. Right? That's what I think their plan, that would be the ultimate plan.
Sounds like a scary future. If you're rich, you can pay for a spot in the safe zone.
In 2012, the movie, yeah.
Just depends.
No, I know. I'm just saying this is a theory, right?
Of course.
And if the government knows it's like this mothership's coming, they're preparing for it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, my grandfather worked on that project about holographic technology in 1972 up until 1980. All UFOs, by the way, are in DOD and DOE, which is Department of Energy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All UFOs?
Majority. Reverse engineering projects because it has energy in it. So almost all are in DOE from all across the United States.
Yeah, because I heard that.
Are you talking about the man-made ones?
Guys, I'm not being offensive here, right? I'm going to drop down now, but please do be careful what you believe with this guy, because a lot of us think he is absolutely full of rubbish. Some of the stuff that he tells you is true, but half the stuff he gets off Google, he doesn't answer questions simply like, where did you get your stuff from, mate? Have you actually run through CGI, mate, instead of filling it as all full of absolute rubbish? So I'm sorry, Dillybop, but I'm going to have to go, mate, because this guy winds me the hell up.
All good. Thank you for being on. Yep, thank you for being on.
Anyways,
Dre
I
still
thought
never
it
has
was
gotten to tell
fiction
his
we're
story.
talking about right now. It's
Everybody's
just
entitled to
fiction.
everybody's entitled to their own opinion on the
Yeah.
page at all. That's just how it is. So.
it's okay. So I actually am working on a project. I'm working on 2. You can look this up. The pitch deck is there too. It's called the Las Vegas Spaceport. And what we're doing is we are building spaceports for everybody from all around the world.
Spaceport.
Yes, you can look it up.
To go through.
It's part of the Gateway Project.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're bringing tourism and other things involved. Now, before I was in the space, my grandfather shared some personal information with me, and I'll share it with you guys. That reverse engineering programs that are for man-made crafts and crafts that are not from here, that have either been gunned down or have been stored all around the world, such as in Peru, Antarctica, the Amazon jungles. For some reason, it's like they just left the technology. And a lot of it is in the DOE and alongside the Department of Defense, which I don't know why. I thought it was really weird. When I did speak to a scientist a couple of weeks back, when I went to a meeting, or I should say a gathering, with Jesse Law, which is Trump's right-hand man, and many other people that were at the party. When I was speaking to the scientist, as the music went up, he started explaining on how it works. It uses plasma technology, for one. It has a high frequency rate. Everything about the craft is designed to go one place to another in a split of a second. Meaning you can go over 100,000 miles or faster, with also using the technology that we all know, which is zero-point energy, because we read about it, and anti-gravity propulsion technology.
Yep, I've been on that topic for a while. I believe that we do have that technology to do that.
Oh, we do, and we
I do believe in that.
absolutely. And the coding that is on the SR-71 Blackbird and the 1117 is actually from Roswell, New Mexico. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
where it came from.
Yep. My grandfather helped build 2 things at Area 51. One was the SR-71 Blackbird, and the other thing was I just shared with you guys, which is holographic technology. The glitter theory that you guys are talking about is not too far off.
Yeah.
I would look into those 2.
So Werner von Braun actually on his deathbed mentioned something along the lines of that as well. He had repeated over and over that the aliens are the last card, and apparently it's supposedly a fake thing again for control purposes. And he went over and over and over on that until the day that he died. So it's very interesting that you bring it up in that form.
Yeah, I wish my grandfather was still alive today. I mean, he did pass away in 2017. If he did, that's okay. It's all good. He had a rare case of exotic cancer, if that makes any sense. Pancreatic. It was, the reason why I say exotic is because, one, for some odd reason, it just acted very strange because of radiational purposes. He was exposed because he was working on projects, which you probably have heard now, or probably a while back, that every person that is a contractor gets exposed like that all the time.
Jake Barber did.
Yep. So,
yeah.
And oh yeah, there's so much that goes on with the company that dealt with the holographic technology is and was developed at Area 71, which is inside of the DOE.
Okay.
There's a facility in northern Nevada that deals with that sort of program. Janet Airlines goes there all the time.
Do you know like kind of where that, how far away that is from Area 51?
It's about 30, 40 minutes from Area 51. From
West?
From north.
North. Okay.
Yep, northwest. And there's another facility down below Area 51 called Area 9 and Area 10 and Area 6. Those three are actually where S1, S2, S3, and S4 are located.
Okay.
Yep. There's multiple
I
layers.
don't know the name of it, but there is a location that I've been in for a while, and it's
Tonopah.
near Joshua Tree.
Yep.
Pipe wash, California. There's something going on over there too.
There's a lot
And,
going on.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but Dre never got to tell his story.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my
Sorry.
bad.
You're all good, guys.
Pull him up. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. I mean, this is actually the first time anybody's ever really asked for my story. To tell you the truth, as long as I've had the channel, I've really never had a chance to tell my side. But it actually started. I started getting into this since I was a kid, but I'm sure it carried on because my dad told me a lot of stories from whenever he was younger, all the way up to to the day he passed away. He was telling me about different situations that he was in, and I'm thinking it probably just carried on from there.
Yep.
I've been into this, into everything UFO, aliens since I was a kid. I was that one weird kid in school, the one that
vibes.
Everybody looked at weird, because he believed in aliens and what have you. But yeah, I've been
Right.
been
I can relate.
my most recent sighting was actually not too long ago. There was something I was taking out the trash, and I was as I was walking outside, it was at nighttime, and when I looked up, there was some huge square like object that was just going right over. It was right at the treetops, and you couldn't hear nothing or anything. The only reason why I knew it was there was because it blocked out the sky above it. You couldn't see the stars or whatever, but it just kept on, just flew right over our heads. And at first I was looking at it thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. And I mean, I almost did like in the movies, when they rub their eyes to clear them up or what have you. But yeah, I thought I was seeing stuff for a little bit there. And but yeah, that's basically my recent sighting. But it's been like that basically my whole life. That's what's drawn me to this whole genre basically.
Yeah, and once you see something like that or you have that connection, it just hooks you, doesn't it? It's really, really hard.
Yeah, absolutely it does. I mean, I've been wanting to get into. I mean, everything that I see, I want to know more and more. I can't get enough information about everything. So that's why I'm always diving into everything head first, just to try to find out as much as I can with it.
Agreed. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear your story. Yeah, it's interesting that all of us do have that same connection on some extent. It's either something that we've experienced or something that our families have bumped into, and it really has brought us like all closer together to it as a community. And so it's really cool to see all of us connect in that way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe in the math theory about life. I believe that if it's a one in a billion chance that we're here, with the amount of stars that are in the sky, there's gotta be several billion other species out there.
I feel you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't believe that we're alone whatsoever.
There's no
and the
way
fact that
we're alone
most
in this
humans
universe.
need that physical, tangible proof just shows how big their egos are, because we can't even see more than 1% of the spectrum of light alone. Never mind everything else. They could be walking around us right now and we can't see them because of the way that we're so limited in our perception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they might be in another dimension than we are in. Yeah.
Yeah, they may be able to perceive our dimension from theirs, and we can't see them because we're not on their dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
They are in higher frequency.
Like because we can see
them, yeah.
the first, like the second dimension, right? Because if things are 2D, we can see it, right? And we can see things that are in 3D because that's life for us. So let's go to 4D. Now we can't see that because we don't know what it is,
Mm.
right? So we don't perceive that. But
Yeah.
the people in 4D can perceive every dimension before them.
Hallucination, you guys got anything to say over there? You're quiet.
Oh, I'm just listening, man. Yeah, no, there's the whole thing called the holographic principle, which is basically that 4D view that we don't have, and it's a pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can see the flat shadow casting on the ground, and if you're on the ground, you see it completely different than you do from this view.
Yep.
But seeing it from the view above that is a completely different thing. So I absolutely, yeah, I'm a huge consciousness. This whole thing with psionics is really fascinating to me. I'm very interested in that whole aspect of everything, of the topic, because I think it's all connected, because it is,
Yeah,
I
me
believe
too.
everything operates within frequency, energy, sometimes, you know, in parallel realities, dimensions, however you want to see it. Sometimes things slip, you know, sometimes it's like the record that you kind of mentioned earlier, you know, it's just a whole, there is a lot that we don't understand yet that I think we will at some point. 100 years
But do you
ago,
think that
you
we
know,
can train? Do you think that we can train us to see 4D? That we can train our brains to open for that?
I don't think
view
our
to
brains
see?
are wired like that.
I think
Actually, I think it's possible.
I think
that's
I guess it
where,
depends on what you believe.
yeah, well, and I also, it is interesting too, if you consider, you know, there are many that do believe that when you do certain medicinal substances, it opens that possibility up, and that's what's happening. So,
DMT.
right, yeah, I got to be careful around here saying certain things
Well, it's just 3 letters.
Have you
That's
seen,
on this
have you
platform.
seen that video, or have you seen that guy that actually he's testing out with that theory, but actually looking at a laser beam and being able to see into that higher dimension and using that the substance you were talking about, but using that along with these lasers, you can actually see into a whole different dimension.
Yep, I've actually heard that multiple times. I watch Vedit. I don't know. I'm sure all of you guys have seen that too. And I was watching that about a year ago, and I found it very interesting because there was a story on there where a kid actually worked with the CIA and stuff, and he had a very interesting story where he said that he was being taught to, what is that called? Where you can astro travel and see into the future, remote viewing. And he said he was kind of working with that, and they did give him some sort of substance, but at the end of his story, I found really fascinating. It was scattered all over the place. It wasn't in very linear lines of his story. But one of the parts that he got to is he said that they called him back into this room where he walked into the back and then spoke to a sphere. And he said he came up to this sphere object and he looked at it, and he said this sphere was something that he'd never seen before. He said it was deep in the layers of somewhere like Area 51. But he spoke to this thing, and the sphere was essentially alive. And he said it was talking to him inside, so he didn't have to say words or anything. It was just speaking internally. And he said the sphere turned green, and then everybody said, "Oh, you're done here." And he got to leave, and there was no questions asked. Anytime he brought up a question, they said, "No, essentially the sphere will choose who it wants to." And he's mentioned that essentially it was like alive in some ways, and he didn't know how to explain it. But did end up having to take some sort of chemicals in order to do this astro travel kind of projection thing that they were talking about. So it's interesting that you guys bring that up.
So you said it was a child?
Yeah, you know,
he was a child.
That would surprise me. Child's minds are way more open to stuff than adults.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think it was
they've experimented with the drugs, you can say, to open your mind for things that we never ever could believe that we ever could have in, you know, we can see our whole life, you know, go back and almost touch everything. But when we are not having these illusional drugs, what you say, we can't think like that. But when we take these drugs, it's open lots of things that maybe sometimes you should have not open. Yeah. So you have to have
Well,
someone
I
with
know
you.
there's
I
a
know we're
college.
talking.
There's a college
Hold
that's
on. I
actually.
know that we're talking specifically about this, but I do not recommend that any of you guys go do this. Like this is just making that extremely clear.
No, it's
This is
the
a
science.
but
It's
no, I do not recommend it.
no, don't do it at home, please. Yeah.
But you know,
And plus, like,
there's a college that also seen that they're using a synthetic substance and they're actually using people who are actually volunteering for this subject, and they're using it in like small quantities at longer periods of time to where they can actually map out the dimension that they're actually going to, and they're actually a lot of the different volunteers are naming the exact same entities and the places that they go to, and they're trying to use that just to map it out. So,
like you
there must
really,
be something more to it.
you really don't even need these substances to do this either. You can literally just do it if you practice enough. And that goes
Yeah.
for all psionic abilities. I genuinely believe that if you, like, I feel like it's all based on belief and imagination. I sound crazy. Can you mute yourself, Steve? Because that's aggravating.
Yes, sorry, I didn't realize you
Anyways.
could hear that.
It's okay, hon. Anyways, as I was saying, like, I really believe that you could practice any ability and really hone into it. And I don't care how delusional I sound anymore. That's been thrown out the window. But, like, I genuinely believe, like, imagination and all of this stuff is a powerful tool. And you don't need any substances to get that or to
I think
achieve
they're
that.
using it.
It's about
I think they're using it for
deconstructing.
people
One
who
sec,
is
please. I haven't gotten to talk.
I'm
One
sorry.
sec. So basically, what I believe is it's all a matter of deconstructing all the things you were forced to believe since you were a child. And when you're able to realize that everything around you is a false construct created by someone else, you can take full control of your reality. Because then you realize, why am I following the rules made up by someone else? I can have my own beliefs. I have my own understanding of reality, and reality is subjective to me. So, I do believe once you break out of the brainwashing and all the constructs, all the propaganda, you can start to see the world from a new lens of your own creation.
That's a very good point. Yeah, our minds are kind of an antenna, and we can kind of attract and pull in those feelings and change our surroundings. So no, I do agree. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
And this is what I talk about all the time whenever I go live or I do my own thing. It's hard because a lot of people join and derail the conversation. But it's like I try to tell people the world, how you see it, is made up. None of it's real. And you have the ability to reconstruct your mind. You have the ability to reprogram your subconscious mind to gain full control of your reality. If you just let your subconscious and conscious mind work as one unit.
That's a wonderful statement. I would agree.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I've waited this long to talk, because I wanted to get it all out there.
Well, thank you for sharing that too.
So it was awesome. That was very well put too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As a side note, you know how we've all heard of magic back in the day, right? That magic, like dragons and Merlin and all stuff like that. I believe that we, as a race of beings, have lost something over the centuries. An ability to do things with our mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. More
Right.
lazy now. Yeah.
So the stuff that they used to call magic back in the day was just people that were able to do things that other people weren't with their minds and stuff. And it was perceived as magic because they didn't know how to explain it otherwise.
Very
true.
true.
Like I've heard on science fiction, so like a race of people that have advanced enough technology could be perceived as magic to a lower evolved society.
Completely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree because the brain actually is very lazy. So if we don't, activate it and use it all the time, it actually want to shut down. And I think we are so lazy. We have everything, figured out already for us, and we don't have to figure it out anything anymore. And that is dangerous for us. Yeah.
You know what it also is? It's the fact that we are in our comfort zone. People are afraid to leave their comfort zones.
Yeah.
When you have that pre-established bias due to the conditioning of society, some people are terrified to change that because changing your perspective is terrifying even when it's needed. So a lot of people are so terrified of changing themselves and change in general that they would rather stay in the conditioned mindset of thinking things are impossible. When I believe anything is possible, it depends on your belief and your understanding of how reality works. And like, I get called crazy all the time. So sometimes I like to say it in a way where people can understand it and kind of like plant the seed. But I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. But like, I genuinely believe that even the government themselves has been like releasing documents saying reality is a holographic matrix. You can literally do whatever you want if you really programmed your mind to understand that. And a lot of people don't get it.
Yep.
I
Like
have done that.
those last year or 2
Yeah,
years.
exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the thing is that CIA document from the Monroe Institute was released in 2003 and only people like us noticed. And that's why they release it, because they know the more that they hold on to this information, the more popular it'll become when people leak it or something. So they know that the earlier they release something, the less people will care.
And where did we find
They
those
put it-
documents at? How can people find those documents again?
You go to CIA.gov, scroll down to Freedom of Information Act, and you can literally type in gateway process. And then there will be a PDF under something that you click that says assessment of the gateway process.
Yep. Yep.
Interesting.
So you can download it, you can print it, whatever.
Yep.
Very cool.
Oh, that's interesting. Really.
Yep.
Yeah, like you're almost like on the edge of talking like the Matrix, like the movie. You know what I mean? Like sort of thing. Like a buddy of mine says that we destroyed ourselves a long time ago, and we are living in something that's along the lines of the Matrix, and that
It's
we will
possible.
continue to feed this cycle of living and then destroying our world, then living, then destroying our world over and over, as long as we keep the like
That's
this information
very-
is suppressed.
That
is
That's very possible.
one of the things that
That's
I
very possible.
Yeah.
But my personal belief is that reality is endless and there's endless possibilities. I don't believe in the fear-based constructs of certain beliefs because we have to remember that this matrix controls you through fear-based beliefs. So believing that this is a prison planet is also creating your own prison. Because therefore you are trapping yourself within the belief that this reality is not of your creation and you have no control. So you want to be able to reclaim your power by saying, even if we're in a simulation, this means I can do whatever I want and that I don't have to believe in hell or the devil. I don't have to believe in made up constructs. So when you free your mind, it's about understanding and seeing past the fear-based propaganda that they throw onto us, even in the conspiracy theory community.
One of the theories that I've recently heard too is that the future has not yet been created, and if we fall into the category of like the virtual reality world, where a tree doesn't exist until some human had put it there, and then now it's mapped, and all of us humans can see that. If that falls into the story of religion or anything like that, I find that interesting because maybe we have the government pulling us all in, telling us that aliens exist, right? And although maybe a few of us had believed it in the past, it didn't quite fully exist. But now that we have many minds coming together and believing one specific topic, we are then creating the new future.
Yeah.
That's just a random theory. That's just a shower thought. But
We create our own future. Yeah, with our own minds.
Yes,
We can create
I
our
do
own
believe
thing.
that
I'm
too.
Yeah.
Because again,
gonna
reality is
invite a
based
friend of
on your
mine.
understanding of it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, he has a theory of like rendering. Like something isn't real until a person sees it, sort of thing, right? Where like I'm looking, like I'm at work right now, and I'm looking out the window, and I can see the parking lot sitting there, and I can see like as far as the darkness will let me see, right? So beyond that, is there actually anything there at the moment? You know what I mean? Like the idea that
Only what
until
your
it's
brain
perceived by a
comprehends.
person, it doesn't actually exist. And then it renders into reality.
Yeah, it's a very
He
interesting.
he explains it a lot better than I do. Like that's something along the lines of what he was saying. Like I can't. He like I wish I could invite him in. I wish he was online
No,
so I could.
I understand. I understand what you're talking about, though. I've heard that theory multiple times. It's essentially a tree doesn't exist or something doesn't exist until humans put it there, and then once it's there, it's been rendered into reality, and now somebody else can see it, and other people can see it. That's why we've been able to create maps and all of that kind of stuff, because we've put our thoughts together and built something. So it's a theory. Obviously, it can't be quite proven, but other than
Yeah.
the double slit experiment is a very interesting way of looking at things. But other than that,
Okay, sorry.
oh, you guys are good. You guys, I'm gonna be wrapping it up here. It's
I gotta
about
go
10
anyway.
o'clock, so I'm gonna call it an evening and
Thanks for
stuff.
having me in.
Yeah, thank you.
It was really interesting. Thank you. Really.
Thank you.
Talk
Yeah,
to
it
me
was really
anytime
cool.
in DMs. I'm open, Dill Pop.
Yeah, I thank you guys so much for being on. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Doing something a little different tonight. I've done lives many times, but usually it's just me chatting with you guys in the comments. So it was fun to have you guys on and get to meet you and chat with you guys.
Yeah, nice meeting everybody.
Yeah, thank you for
It's been
having
an
me.
honor.
It was very, very, very interesting.
Really honor.
I'm such
Nice.
an honest to being of gender neutral chaos. See you guys later.
Yeah, later. Have a good one.
Good chatting with you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
brother.
We'll see you guys soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you too.
Wonderful
Bye.
night. Talk to you.
Y'all be careful.